hiccup here. I don't know what's happening. I see we already have 11 people who have joined us online. I expect in a short while we're going to see more. So without further ado, can I pass the stage over to our panelists? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone, again. And I'm Jaya, an endocrinologist from University Malaya Medical Center here in Kuala Lumpur, and I welcome you to the forum on pre-diabetes, a chance for you and I to make a change. Tomorrow is actually November 14th, which is actually World Diabetes Day. You must have heard about it. It's actually the birthday of Professor Friedrich Banting, who discovered insulin more than 100 years ago. We're actually on November 13th today, and the reason for that is because we're going to discuss pre-diabetes, which is a syndrome or condition that comes ahead of diabetes. And to shed insight on this, we actually have two very eminent experts in the field who are also very close friends to me, and I'm very happy to introduce them. We have Dr. Alexander Tan, who is a senior consultant endocrinologist from Sunway Medical Center in Bandar Sunway, Selangor. And also we have Professor Winnie Chi, who is a professor in dietetics and nutrition. She's also the Dean of the Health Sciences at the International Medical University in Bukit Jalil, Kuala Lumpur. So the discussion will go on pre-diabetes for almost 45 minutes or so, and I would like to remind you that we will take questions at the end of the session. So for those of you who are joining us online, do type in your questions so we'll be able to address them. And for those of you who are here with us physically, you can also ask us questions so we can actually address. So let's move on. Dr. Alex, can we ask you first? Can you tell us what is this condition, pre-diabetes?
Never heard of it. No, just kidding. Okay, so basically pre-diabetes is where your sugar is high, but it's not high enough to qualify for the cutoff criteria for diabetes. So for example, in Malaysia, we say that if you have a HbA1c, which is your average 3-month sugar, which is above 6.3%, that qualifies you to have diabetes. But the pre-diabetes is sort of not as high, so 5.7 to 6.3. So it's kind of this warning stage to sort of say that, not quite there yet, but if you don't do something, you're going to get there. Right? So that's what pre-diabetes is.
Is it something that we need a blood test to find out about, or
Yeah. So you need a blood test, and there are certain things that should compel you towards getting a blood test. I think number one now in Malaysia is that if you're overweight or obese. Okay? If you're overweight or obese and you have a Malaysian IC, you should go and get tested. Yeah, honestly. Other things which might be more compelling for you to go and get tested is your family history. So like we got this big background here which says PHAMA, it stands for father, mother. Okay, so father, mother got diabetes, you better go check. Okay, if you had diabetes as a woman when you were pregnant, right? This gestational diabetes or pregnancy diabetes. Okay, that's also another thing. When you're having your baby, you got diabetes, and you got UC a bit, and after that it went away. Later on in your life, it might come back, right? But I think it is quite a prevalent condition. I mean, I don't think we really know the true numbers here. But the numbers that are already known is already a lot, right? What they're estimating is that for every one person who knows that they have diabetes, another one person is out there in the background enjoying their chendol and doesn't know that they have diabetes, right? So again, you won't know until you go and get checked. So I would encourage everybody. If you've got Malaysian IC, go and check.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, so you told us about HbA1c. I mean, is there any other methods of finding out whether you have diabetes or not? Or?
Yeah, you can go and do your glucose testing as well. And there are two states in which they normally test, either you're fasting, okay, or 2 hours after a fixed amount of sugar is taken, what they call an oral glucose tolerance test. But the oral glucose tolerance test is the traditional way, but it's also a little bit more cumbersome because you've got to take blood twice, and you've got to bring this super sweet drink. But there is also that way. Yeah.
So let's go back again on pre-diabetes. I mean, why is it important? I mean, why do we need to go and find out whether we have pre-diabetes or what's the whole idea about that?
Yeah. So, okay, pre-diabetes. Okay, so first of all, everybody should know that diabetes is bad, right? You get all these complications. Obviously your sugar is high, but sugar high never mind. It leads to really bad complications, right? We were talking just now, isn't it, Jaya? One toe gone, two toe gone, one leg gone, two leg gone, one kidney gone, two kidney gone, no eyes, your heart function is down to less than 50%, and one half of your body cannot stroke, need a tube here, need a tube there. So yeah, it's all something if you rewind backwards. And that's what this is about, talking about pre. You have to see what's going to happen to this person in 20 years. And the medical science we already know, we can already predict if your sugar numbers are bad in 20 years, all those things that I said are going to happen to you. So if you can prevent all of those things from happening, then do it. Okay. Now, pre-diabetes, thankfully, is this warning stage where before you go on to frank diabetes, like the proper diabetes, your body is already getting there already, and there's actually things that you can do to prevent or even slow yourself from going into that stage. It's like boyfriend, girlfriend kind of stage, like no ring, no married yet, nothing signed, right? Just a little bit kiss, hug only, but you can always sort of say, hey, let's slow it down, let's not go there, kind of thing. But
so it's sort of like before marriage, engagement stage, and you can call it off if you want, that kind of thing, isn't it?
They go and show the parents object, that kind of stage.
Right. So you can actually reverse pre-diabetes. And can you reverse diabetes similarly? I mean, like...
So reverse is a loaded word, as you know. I think the proper term for it is remission. Just like how you can have cancer, you go into remission. But remission warns the individual, it can come back. It's not like it's gone forever. It can come back. That's why they don't tell you, oh, reverse, or gone, or cured. What the word remission means is that, now not around, but it can come back, right? So I think the terminology is important, because you tell a patient you are in remission, right? If you don't jaga, etc., there is a possibility that you can get cured back. Yeah. And remission, I might want to add, is actually not that easy to achieve. It's
no, but I mean,
for a lot of weight.
I mean, for diabetes, definitely. But I mean, for pre-diabetes, I mean, can someone with a HbA1c that is in a pre-diabetes range go back to normal again? I mean, is that...
So if it can happen with diabetes, sure it can happen with pre-diabetes, right? Logically speaking. So, yeah.
So, Prof, can I ask you, I mean, do you see quite a number of pre-diabetes? What kind of our Malaysian population do you see with pre-diabetes? I mean, what's their typical appearance?
Okay. So first thing first, I think pre-diabetes definitely, as what Dr. Alex said, it's a warning sign for you to not go into diabetes. And as he also mentioned, one of the key association with pre-diabetes is obesity. And the patients that I get at the moment now are getting younger. All right, so I have people, yes, that's right. You don't think that at 50, 60-year-old only you get pre-diabetes. In fact, we see a lot of 50 to 60-year-old who are already having diabetes. We're seeing pre-diabetes, on average, my patients are in their 20s, the youngest, and also early 30s. And they're still very active in, their life, their careers and all that. And the doctors tell them that, look, I think you better take care because your sugars are now high already. So if you don't take care and your weight continues to go up, and you have a risk factor, as what Dr. Alex said, that you also have a strong family history, you are very likely to become diabetic. So I think and pre-diabetes is actually a wake-up call, and it is reversible. All you need to do is to take an awareness, check yourself in terms of your lifestyle and your diet. It's the point where diet and lifestyle plays the most significant role, because you don't necessarily take medicine yet, right, if you have pre-diabetes. So normally we will see these patients and get them to change their lifestyle and their diet, and we have been very successful. We actually can get the sugars back to normal.
Sure.
The key thing is to maintain it.
Okay, we will just hold that thought. We'll get back to that again. Can I go to you again, Alex? I mean, you mentioned complications with people living with diabetes. I mean, does that happen in pre-diabetes as well? I mean, if I have pre-diabetes, can I get, is that going to damage my eyes or my kidneys or my heart?
Yeah. It can happen. It can happen, just that it's to a lesser extent. You see, it's always very, it's not a magic thing to sort of say that, once you go from a HbA1c of 6.3 to 6.4, magically all the bad things happen, right? It's actually a spectrum, and different individuals will have different risks or propensities to get these complications. So even at lower levels of sugar, some people can get retinopathy already, some people can get neuropathy already, all these things. So it's not to sort of say that, it's completely sort of harmless. Boyfriend and girlfriend also can have things.
Yeah, I get that. That's a very good analogy. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, so if I do have risk factors, I mean, what do you suggest that I should do? I mean, what's the first thing that,
Okay, first thing first, you got to objectively know where you are. So go and check your sugar, right? Go and see a doctor, ask for HbA1c, ask to do a glucose tolerance test if necessary, okay? And then probably while you're at it, because you see the thing with pre-diabetes, it also tends to be packaged together with a little bit of high blood pressure, a little bit of cholesterol, a little bit of gout, a little bit of fatty liver.
So you probably need a more complete assessment.
Yeah, go get a medical checkup done, okay, and know where you stand with all these things, right? And if you are truly diagnosed with diabetes or pre-diabetes, okay, then you need to start a foundation of healthy living, right? What Prof. we need to
You will definitely get to that. Yeah,
you will definitely get to that. I think it's a wake up call already. Like you need to start an intervention. So yeah, you got to eat better, eat healthier, and you got to get physical activity.
Sure. Sure. I know you guys mentioned being overweight or obese many times already. I mean, how do I know if I'm overweight or obese, and just for the benefit of the audience?
Yeah, so I mean, the most traditional way is to do your weight and your height, okay, and then you calculate this thing called your BMI, okay, and in Asians, a BMI of above 23, which is, okay, a little bit of maths, sorry, kilogram divided by your height in meters squared, okay, yeah, so it's not just weight divided by height. Weight your height, everybody will know. So
I will be top on the list.
Yeah, so
multiply your height twice.
Yeah, multiply your height twice. Yeah, multiply your height twice. Okay.
So if you weigh 70 kilograms.
Maybe we can put it in the screener down there. But anyway, so what it is if your BMI is above 23, then in an Asian you're actually already considered obese. And I think overweight.
Overweight.
Yeah, so I think that's one easy way. Yeah, because this is the one thing I think that can be changed in somebody who has got pre-diabetes. Unfortunately, father, mother cannot change, right? Can change on paper, but cannot change in reality. And the fact that you had diabetes in pregnancy also cannot change. Go and tell that baby to take away the diabetes, cannot. So, I think that's an important factor.
Yeah, I think the other thing that people use is also waist circumference.
Oh yeah, waist circumference.
Yeah, so maybe if you're above 90 centimeter, if you're a man, and above 80 centimeters for your waist circumference, that also indicates you have abdominal sort of obesity, which is associated with pre-diabetes or diabetes. So I mean, the other thing I'd like to add also, I mean, gestational diabetes, PCOS as well. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, women who have irregular periods, who have difficulty to conceive, you may have this condition called polycystic ovarian syndrome, and that also puts you at risk for pre-diabetes and diabetes. So, again, Dr. Alex, can I get to you? I mean, so if I have risk factors, I need to go and do this blood test done. And if I do find out that I have pre-diabetes, what do I do? I mean, should I be very depressed? And is it going to be, what should the next thing be? What should I do next?
Lose weight. Yeah. So I guess at the end of the day, you would have done the blood test with a doctor. Okay, maybe nowadays they have all these lab tests and everything, but you go and see a doctor. I think the core of it is that you do need to have some degree of weight loss. And then, like I said, go and see Professor Willie Chi, Deputy Dean of Health Sciences at International Medical University.
You can see any dietitian there.
Yeah. start on a. You don't need it to be a formal program. You don't need to go and join some fitness club or some like pay like $15 to join some app or something like that.
Yeah, I get a lot of that on my phone.
Yeah.
I think they know what my BMI is.
It knows everything. Your phone knows everything, honestly. Yeah. So it probably knows my HbA1c as well, my phone nowadays. Right? Yeah. So you need to get a proper foundation for healthier eating. You need to get a proper foundation for increased physical activity, tailor-made to suit you lah. Tailor-made to suit you. There may be certain exercise which is not right for you, Lord. I can't prescribe you to go and swim when you don't know how to swim. Okay, and also you got to understand lah. Are you more of a rice eater or a chapati eater? Makes a difference, I suppose. So
So let's move on to you, Prof. Vinny. What's your, as a dietitian, what do you think your role is, and how can you, do patients with pre-diabetes, do they actually need to go and see a dietitian or preferably? Yeah.
So what happens is that usually when you see the doctor and the doctor is saying you need to lose some weight. So the first thing that anyone would go back and do is, and it's very common knowledge, you stop eating rice. They cut out, right? You eat less, okay? And there's always a notion that eating rice is going to be the reason why you're going to get diabetes. But yes, you're absolutely right, Jaya. Preferably ask the doctor to refer you to a dietitian. You can see a dietitian in any of the hospitals, they are there. And there are now also dietitians that you can go to the Malaysian Dietitians Association website and you can Google the nearest dietitian to where you're staying, get an appointment and see us. The reason why you need to see us is because what we do then is that we will assess properly your risk. So we look at your diet and then together we find out, okay, where are your issues, right? What are the things you're already doing that's good, that you can continue? But there may be certain aspects that will help you lose weight in a safe manner. So what most people do is they go to Mr. Google. They go to Dr. Google and Dr. Google say, keto diet, follow this diet, follow that diet. They do that and they say, hey, I lost a lot of weight, so it's very effective. But then what happens after that, the weight can come back. Or in the long run, their diet is actually not safe. So I would agree with you. Try and see if you can get an appointment and see a dietitian.
So probably, as Malaysians, right, we can't live without rice.
No.
And we love all our food. We love nasi lemak, we love to eat our char kway teow, roti canai, so on and so forth. I know everybody's mouth is watering. How can we Malaysians actually adapt to this? It's difficult to expect us to eat sandwich for lunch or just have salad and chicken for dinner. So what's your advice in terms of incorporating a Malaysian diet into our day-to-day practice?
Absolutely. So this is something that when you see a dietitian, what we do is that one thing for sure, when you see a dietitian, he'll never tell you it's all you cannot eat. It's a question of actually balancing what you're eating. Right? So let's understand pre-diabetes a little bit more. There are two reasons that is contributing to pre-diabetes. Number one is overweight and obesity, as we know. That means you're putting on and you're gaining weight over time, and your BMI has exceeded what Dr. Alex mentioned, more than 23 already, right? And the doctor tells you, yes, your blood sugar is high. So overweight and obesity, what happens is there's excess body fat in your body, and that's blocking the insulin from doing well, right? From actually digesting your glucose that you get from food. The second thing that you must understand is that it also means that there's some derangement of how your body is actually metabolizing or digesting carbohydrate foods. Okay, so we need to understand that. So normally then, therefore, when you look at Malaysian foods, it is very high in carbohydrate, like you mentioned, the rice, the noodles, and all that. So what do you do? So there are two things that is important. It's the amount of food that you eat, right? And it's the activity that you do. Because the key thing here in pre-diabetes that's effective is weight loss. That is very well proven in a lot of trials and a lot of research. But how much weight loss? Because I get a lot of patients who ask me, in my younger days, I was 50 kilos. Now I'm 80 kilos. How to become 50 kilos? No way, right? But no, actually what is the beauty of it is that the weight loss is only 5 to 7% of your current weight. So it's not a lot of weight loss. Okay? So if let's say you're 80 kilos, so we're looking at basically 4 kilograms of weight loss. And with that 4 kilogram of weight loss, you're going to see improvement already in your blood sugar levels. And that is also well proven. And I've seen that in my own patients.
Right.
So we tell them, hey, so be careful. So do talk to someone, talk to a doctor or talk to a dietitian, and say, how much weight should I lose? So you're not talking about going back to the days when you're in your 20s, when all our BMIs are, looking like a supermodel and so on. Not necessarily.
I never
so
looked
that
at
amount.
Maybe not really. Was in Miss Universe before.
So we're looking at 5 to 7% weight loss, and the research showed that with that 5 to 7%
You
of
already
weight
can
loss,
see
you
the
already can see the difference because your insulin resistance will improve already, almost up to 80%. So so that helps to digest that carbohydrate food. Okay, so one. Number two, you must understand the type of carbohydrate foods to eat. And no dietitian will tell you don't need to eat rice, one. But they will tell you have to eat less rice, less noodle, and you have to eat the right type of carbohydrates. So what do you mean by right type? That means not the refined type. Right now we all all our carbohydrates are refined and laden with fat. We like to fry, right? The noodles are fried, the fried rice, the char kway teow, and all that. So fat causes a lot of calorie to be eaten, and the amount that is being served is also very much high. So one simple way that I always teach the general public and as well my patients is you follow the healthy plate model that actually the Ministry of Health has already done. And I actually was one of those who were chairing that committee when we look at the healthy plate model. It's about quarter, half. In Malay, suku separuh. So what do we mean by that? So quarter of your plate or your bowl should be your rice, your noodles, your carbohydrate, right? And try to make it whole grain if you can, meaning like brown rice, pasta. But if you cannot get whole grain, it's okay. Just don't eat so much of it. So only about a quarter of that portion. Another quarter will be your meat. So meat meaning like your proteins. So fish, chicken, you can go for tofu. Those who like plant-based diet, you can go for
Those who
your
are
dal.
vegetarian.
Yeah, the vegetarians. So that's another quarter of that. And the other half, you fill it up with fruits and vegetables. And always I tell my patient, if you're concerned about your blood sugar, they always ask me, can I buy special rice cooker to block the carb? Or I go to the pharmacy, I buy a pill to block carb. I say the natural way to block your carbs is actually fruits and vegetables. It's fiber, right? Naturally, it will just reduce that absorption of carbohydrate and will not have that spike in your blood sugar when you eat your carbohydrate, right? So look at your plate, eat mindfully, make sure this quarter half is always there. So don't have, if you have a whole plate of char kway teow, share that char kway teow with your boyfriend or your girlfriend and your loved one, right? Order a plate of vegetables so that that vegetable will help to block the carbohydrate digestion that's coming from the char kway teow and you have it. And don't have it all the time. So occasionally switch to kway teow soup, for example, which is less oily, right? And again, kway teow soup in Malaysia, not so much vegetable. So if possible, add on. That's right. You can either bring your own salad or after that, you eat the fruit after that. So simple things that can be done, not necessarily you have to spend a lot of money in order to be healthy. And on occasions where you're eating too much, make sure you balance that with physical activity. Another reason why we have high obesity is because we hardly move. I wear a smart, all of you, I'm sure you wear a smartwatch and you see, many times our job is we're sit and stand only, right? We hardly walk. So if I do 2,000 steps a day, you're supposed to do 10,000 steps a day, right? So in order to do the 10,000, you have to get up. Every 90 minutes, get up, walk. Go toilet, doesn't matter, right? Make sure you always move. And if it's still not yet 10,000, maybe find some time to do some structured exercise. And walking, of course, is the safest. So these are things that can be done. It doesn't sound so difficult, isn't it? It's all about motivation, and you must find the reason why you need to change. So most of the time when I talk to my patient, let's just explore first. Okay, the doctor told you that pre-diabetes, what do you think about that? How does it affect you? Right? And then, where is your motivation? Otherwise, no point. Because you know all these are not rocket science, it's common sense actually, but your motivation must be there. Why do I need to make a change? And how much of it I need to change? right? So forming that habit is important.
So clearly, I think Alex, you agree that a doctor alone will not be, won't be sufficient. I guess many patients with pre-diabetes and diabetes definitely need a dietitian or a nutritionist to actually guide them. Because this kind of thing, I mean, I must admit, I probably may have not done as good as a job as how Prof. Is explained, isn't it? So Alex, anything you want to add? I mean, in terms of physical activity, I think Prof. has mentioned a bit on it. Yeah.
After listening to her, number one, I would like to vote for her. Number two, I feel very guilty sitting here. I should be outside. I should be
You don't have a
outside.
smartwatch on you, so it's okay.
I might dumb watch. Even worse, I don't even have feedback. I should be walking. Totally agree. And I especially would like to, so that the motivation part, I think is very, very important. You know, because you can be like super smartwatch, have all this everything, but you know, at the end of the day, if you don't want to make the change, no matter what we do, it's not going to work. So I think motivation, if you give DAM, right, then you all these things will naturally come to me, isn't it? Yeah. If you really want to prioritize your health, etc., all these things come naturally. You go and do your own research about what is healthy to eat.
Yeah.
You know, you go and see a doctor.
So can I ask, I mean, the both of you, I mean, because weight loss is not easy. I mean, I think everyone is struggling. I mean, how do you keep motivated at it? I mean, what's your advice to patients or the public in terms of being motivated to keep, with that weight loss? Because we do know that weight loss, I mean, you can probably achieve 5 or 10% of weight loss, but it tends to build back up again after some time. You know, after 6 months, after a year, you know, if you don't keep at whatever you're doing, the body tends to go into an equilibrium where you want to, you'll automatically gain back, to whatever kilos you were before. So, I mean, how Prof, I mean, or Alex, I mean,
How do you tell patients to motivate them?
I send them to mini chicken. Ask them to migrate to a country where the food no char kway teow.
or where it costs like 25 pounds or something like that.
No, I think you just have to habitualize certain things and you have to set the rules and the boundaries. At the end of the day, why do you brush your teeth? Okay, you don't exactly always brush your teeth because you're motivated to keep it clean. Sometimes it's just habitualized already. I think that if you set certain rules for yourself, and say that, okay, look, I'm not going to eat certain types of foods, etc. I think that's one thing. I guess at the end of the day, it's an individualized thing, right? I have patients who have no fear of anything, but if I say dialysis, then okay, the world changes, right? And I think it's really, really a matter of finding that individual thing that will motivate somebody. As you do, you see a wide spectrum of patients, and it's very different for every.
You really have to tailor it to the person you're talking to, isn't it?
It's up to that individual to find that reason of change, right? I think it's nice to talk about habits. Do you know you need 66 days to form a habit? That's actually evidence-based. So that's why I tell my patient, when you talk about change, don't say you're successful until you've achieved 66 days of doing it. Then it becomes a habit. And when you don't do it, you feel like, oh, something is wrong with my life already. So it goes the other way. Like with exercise. So I think it's interesting what you talk about brushing your teeth, right? So it's when I talk to some of my patients and they say, at night when I'm sitting down and watching TV, I must sleep. Right? I just feel like I need to go and get a drag. Yes, that's right, a bag of chips, cook noodles or something, instant noodle, So when you think about why do you do it? You do it because of that sense that what this carbohydrate or this sweets does to you, that mood, right? It affects your mood. So when you have already eaten, you feel good. So what you're chasing is that feeling of good that you get. But there are other things you can eat that can give you that same feeling. And it's not carbohydrate based. So for example, yes, that's right. Fruits and vegetables give you that same feeling. Even if you really crave, then I said, okay, go and get a protein base, a handful of nuts or boiled eggs, right? even if you make an omelette for yourself, it's not carb-based, you see, so it doesn't raise that blood sugar. So it's about thinking for yourself and reflecting, what is it that actually why I'm doing it for, why I'm doing it, and how do I find an alternative for that same good feeling. So people turn to food because they want to de-stress. My life is very stressful, right? So when I go home and I sit down to a good meal, I feel good.
Yes.
Right? I feel that
sense of
sense that it's a way for me to not think about my work or my stress or whatever worries me. So you can do that with exercise. The thing about exercise is until you start doing, then only you realize the benefits of exercise. But in the meantime, when you don't do, so people who do regular exercise, I think you understand, that's the feeling that you get. So that the day that you didn't go out and do your 1 kilometer walk, you feel that something's missing in your life. Right? So forming that habit, that's very important. And don't think that overnight you can change one. It doesn't work that way.
It takes time.
Yes, it takes time. So you must be very realistic with your goal as well. Right? And every step, every little things that you change counts and stick. And then soon they start to eat healthy already. So a lot of my patients after 3-6 months, right? And then they suddenly wake up and realize, right? Okay, so you don't have to nag them anymore. They actually suddenly one day realize that, oh, I did something and wow, my sugars actually went down.
So
Very motivating.
Prof, can I ask you, I mean, so definitely when you see these patients, I mean, when you see them again, obviously you need to reassess whether they have adhered to changes in their lifestyle. I mean,
so actually close in the very beginning, try to see at least 1 month later, and then after that we synchronize with the doctor, because sometimes the patients also don't want to keep coming, and then some patients don't like you to keep looking over their shoulder like that, right? But I always try to see them within a month, because that's where I know whether, okay, what were your challenges, can do or not, right? So what do you manage to do, right? And then from there, okay, what's your next goal? Then after that, I will see them together when we see their physician.
So I also have to ask, I mean, for the benefit of the listeners, I mean, like, is it expensive to see a dietitian and follow up? I mean,
well, actually, it depends on where you go, but it is not that expensive. It's around, I don't know, about, in some centers, 50 ringgit to 60 ringgit per appointment. Follow up is half of that amount. So it is around those rates. The issue here is that whether, you see, people don't want to see dietitian because they think, they're going to ask me to eat grass. That's what dietitian will do, I'll have to end up eating grass only.
And turn into a cow.
Yes, that's right. And then after a while, they realize, a lot of my patients actually after seeing dietitian, not just me, any of my colleagues, they realize that, oh, actually can eat, occasionally I can do this. You never tell me to cut out certain things or can't eat certain things. A lot of all these very extreme diets don't come from dietitian, right? Because we are trained to look at nutrition and food in a very balanced manner. We know when you cannot have it, and we know when you can actually have it. So that is key, and that's not something
that comes from uncertified online.
Yes,
somebody wants to sell something,
correct,
isn't it?
Yeah. So you must always be. If something is too good to be, it sounds like it's too good to be true. It's definitely not true. But it's common sense. But a lot of people get swayed by a lot of all these diets.
Yeah. Dr. Can I ask you? I mean, if someone has pre-diabetes, I mean, and has adhered to lifestyle changes, made a bit of weight loss, I mean, when would you recommend to recheck again, or what's the follow-up like for them?
Yeah, so normally I would also follow a month. I think a month is, you do not need to 100% achieve your target and reverse your HbA1c down to less than 5.7 and lose 5% of your body weight. But a month is a good time period to reassess, to sort of say, how are you doing? Are you pulling in the right direction, or in fact, are you getting worse? Touch wood.
Some people might get depressed or demotivated,
and
they think it's that sentence.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good time to just reassess everything, and then based on that 1 month, push forward. Like if they're doing well, then you can lengthen the follow-up period. If they're not doing well, then maybe come back another month, make some changes, talk a little bit more, see what else can be done. So usually about a month.
So we spoke a lot about diet, but how about exercise? I mean, guys, like what? Because it's not easy to start if someone hasn't been exercising regularly. I mean, how do you start off someone on exercise, and how do you build up? I mean, what's your practical advice on that? I mean, there are recommendations that tell you 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity, blah blah blah. But that's like too rigid and regimented, and most of us don't have time for all of that. Yeah.
So I take a very pragmatic approach to it lah. So you're very, very right. If people have never exercised in their entire life, and then you go and tell them to do 150 minutes a week, moderate intensity, they are either going to faint or break their ankle or lose a
Call the ambulance from Taman Jaya.
Call the ambulance from Taman Jaya, exactly. So to me, I would say start low and go slow and do what you can, right? You have to, again, you see, diabetes doesn't affect just one single type of person. It affects everybody, male, female, young and old, all races. And what I think you need to do is you need to individualize the exercise prescription.
So just like the diet.
Yeah, just like the diet. But with the caveat that you have to start low and go slow, and don't suddenly go and do marathon and then collapse. Okay. And also you have to do it at a kind of time which sort of suits the patient as well. Some people have time in the morning, some people have time in the evening. Okay. Some people are able to swim, some people are not. Some people have facilities which enables them. They have a park in front of the house. Some people don't have. I live in a condo that has no gym. So you need to find all these different. What I would then say is that increase at a rate of about 5% in terms of intensity and duration every once a week. Okay, so that 5%, a little bit extra, and then after a while, after some time, you'll find that you reach that sort of 150 minutes a week, and hopefully also by then
66 days have passed and
It's become a habit.
to be habitualized.
Yes, that's right. I think exercise, Jay,
sure.
It's something that you need to enjoy. That's what I find with my patients. So I have patients who say, I don't like to exercise alone. Then I got no one to, exercise with me, so I don't like to. So then go to gym will be an option. No, you're not going to be exercising alone if you join a group exercise. Some are shy to go out. So nowadays, YouTube is fantastic. There's great videos. And there's once I told my patient, have you heard of exercise snacking? He leaped up and thought it's going to be exercise and food. Because snacking. No, this is exercise snacking. That means you break your exercise into small, tiny amounts. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Then you do it again another 10, 15 minutes. So it's small little bouts of exercise that we do, or be active rather. So like I said, after you sit for 90 minutes, you better get up already. Let's all walk around. Even if you're in a meeting, actually, you should be doing that. Okay, 90 minutes already. Let's take a break. Let's go. We've been sitting too long. Let's walk out. Then do walk around and all that, and then sit down, and then let's do it again. Right? So all these are little things that can be done that doesn't make exercise so difficult. And once you've started and get fitter, you can actually do more. So that's the key.
So it's also important to incorporate all our daily
activities,
activities,
the daily
isn't
activities,
it?
that's right. If you notice, you go into a shopping mall, where the car park is the fullest, where the entrance is
closest to the elevator.
Because that's Malaysian. You don't like to walk on. Okay, so try and change that bit of behavior, part a bit further, walk more.
Take the stairs, those kind of things.
Yeah, those kind of things. It's actually very important.
So we spoke a lot about pre-diabetes, who's at risk. What we can do to actually change that. Is there any medications Alex, patients can use? Is there a magic pill to reverse this or control this?
Yeah, there must be lah. We're in the Pharmaceutical Association of Malaysia office, right? Okay, so yeah, there are pharmacological options, right? And the main one is going to be metformin. Okay, that's the one which is widely available. We do use it to treat diabetes. We also do use it to treat PCOS, the polycystic ovarian syndrome, and we also do use it in pre-diabetes. And the whole reason why is because there is evidence. There is evidence which shows that it can help with a bit of weight loss. It can also help to delay and sort of put into remission the pre-diabetes state. So it was a really, really big trial which was done many years ago called DPP. Diabetes Prevention Program, and then they went on and they did a further extension of the trial called DPP-OS. All right, so DPP, don't play, right? Don't play with pre-diabetes. And I think what they did in their trial was they looked at different aspects. They said, okay, don't do anything. And all these people went on and had diabetes. Go through intensive lifestyle changes, okay? And these people had that delay, right? And really good results. Actually, it works, okay? And also the medication metformin also works as well. So there's not many drugs that you can use to sort of in the pre-diabetes stage, okay? With evidence, right? But this is one of them. This is definitely not just Google certified.
Yeah,
right?
this is scientific.
Properly scientific.
But I suppose the key is like the drug doesn't work if you don't make changes to your lifestyle, isn't it?
The foundation,
won't even
yeah,
work. Yeah, well, foundation is still weight loss and
absolutely. I think that's why it's good that we went through all of this first and said that look, you need to have this foundation first rather than sort of go straight to the roof.
So it definitely wouldn't be something if I have pre-diabetes, I go to a doctor, get a pill and swallow the pill and that's it. It's definitely not that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think definitely you do have to have a proper foundation. And as much as you kind of think, oh, I just want to take a tablet, etc., it's not the right way to approach the problem.
I think that's been a very good discussion, and I think we should open for some questions. How about the audience? Yes, you can ask your question.
Yes, my name is Judy Gong. I would like to know whether there's a relationship, whether it's connected, high blood pressure and diabetes, or pre-diabetes as you call it. Because high blood pressure also, we are advised to control our diet and exercise. Pretty much the same, prescription given by doctor, besides the medication. And now you're talking about the same thing. Is it related when you do go for a test and you get your result? Does it mean that when your sugar level is pretty high, your HP also shows some results?
So maybe I'll just summarize and repeat that question. Whether high blood pressure or hypertension, how is that associated with pre-diabetes and diabetes? Is that putting someone at higher risk to get these conditions? Dr. Alex, maybe?
Yeah, it's buy one, get one free.
I thought you get two. The other one is cholesterol.
Actually, it's a whole package, right? So at the root of it, when you are overweight and obese, it's really a monster with many different tentacles and heads. So one of the manifestations could be a high sugar. Another manifestation could be a high blood pressure. Another manifestation is high cholesterol. Another manifestation is infertility and PCOS and low sperm count. Another manifestation could be gout as well. All right. So these kind of things are all pointing towards the same direction. It's just how it's manifesting, right? So definitely there's this relationship, as you say. I mean, the buy one get one free is just so that you laugh a bit, but yeah, it's more like buy one obesity and get all these other things thrown in as part of the package deal.
Yeah, so I guess the root is all being overweight or obese, isn't it? That's a big part of that, and probably a little bit of the other thing is what you can't control, which is probably family history or
The genetics.
the genetic part of it. So, I mean, keep your questions going for the online audience as well. Yeah. So, so there's a question on children. Is there any available programs for pre-diabetes in children? Is that important? Dr. Alex or Prof. Vinny, you can add on as well. And
do you see kids?
No, I don't see kids, but we do have adolescents. It's a bit older, but already having type 2 diabetes. So it's according to obesity.
Alex, you want to add in anything? Or?
Is there
For
available?
children?
There's
Yeah.
no formal programs lah. And I think maybe as parents, it's an important question because I think as a parent myself, you know what we talk about habitualizing and everything. You teach your children to brush their teeth, right? And you habitualize it and you force them into it. You want to brush it, also must brush teeth. You want to bathe, also you must bathe. Okay. So I think there must be a role also in teaching children to eat properly, and perhaps even at a young age understand what they're putting in their mouth and how it will affect. Children pick up. I guess you understand.
As parents, I guess we are the main role models, and what we fill into our fridge is what they are going to eat, isn't it? So we really have to, as adults, we definitely have to play the vital role I just add on to that. The rates of pre-diabetes and diabetes in children is also going up.
Yeah.
That's because more and more children are now overweight or obese. Many mothers have gestational diabetes, and that also increases the risk of your child. So if you had diabetes in pregnancy or gestational diabetes, your child born in that pregnancy is also at risk to develop pre-diabetes or diabetes at a much younger age. I remember, Alex, we have heard from our pediatric endocrinology colleagues who actually go out to schools to do screening, and they do find diabetes, like HbA1cs of 12 or 13 in children who are 13 and 14 years old, something that you'd expect to see only in a 60-year-old. So that's actually very shocking and very, very scary. And really goes to show how much this has all shifted. Even the National Health and Morbidity Survey tells us that very large proportion of pre-diabetes individuals are young, isn't it? They are the ones who don't know that they have diabetes, and when the survey was carried out and they found that they actually had diabetes. So these are people in their teenage years, or in the 20s, 30s, and below 40s.
I think a lot of us in our early days never think about health because we think, I'm young. There's no way this disease is going to affect me. Right? But that awareness is very important. It's actually quite scary to know that people don't know that actually they're walking around with a high blood sugar already. So this Malaysian behavior of, I don't know, is it a tidak apa attitude or I prefer not to know. I've got patients who say, I'd rather not know. If I know, I have to change my lifestyle. But that's a wrong way to look at things. And I also, if I can add on about parents, a lot of my patients don't eat fruits and vegetables. So because they don't eat, they don't buy. So when they don't buy,
children don't have access to.
They have no access.
Children can't go to the market and buy
that's right, exactly.
vegetables.
So there are things that I think we need to look at in terms of the environment and what we feed our kids from the very early stage, even from pregnancy right up to the first 1,000 weeks. That actually is very important. So actually we should have classes for would-be parents, that not only talk about how to take care of the kids, but also about nutrition. I think that's very important.
Definitely we have to start with the kids. But we have to be role models as well as adults.
Yes.
Is there any other questions from those who are physically here? Oh, okay.
Bin Fu got a question.
Right. So I'll just read that question. My weight is 60 kilograms, is more or less consistent with since 30 years ago. I'm a regular jogger, though I jog much less due to my age. I'm 66 now. I have regular exercise almost daily. 45 minutes to an hour, that sounds good. Why is it I'm pre-diabetic? Now I've cut down my rice. Instead, I replace it with tofu to replace rice. What is your advice to improve my pre-diabetes? I take a fruit daily. Prof. Vinny, in terms of a diet,
Okay, so if you're looking at the diet, if you have, probably Dr. Alex will discuss why you can still have pre-diabetes. I do have also, quite thin people who have pre-diabetes. But I would say that if you're cutting down on rice, I assume it means not completely no rice, but you're eating some amount, lesser amount. Tofu, you don't replace rice with tofu. Tofu is a source of protein. It's not a source of carbohydrate, but it's a good choice of protein as compared to maybe taking red meats and all that. So you can have fish, you can have tofu. That's not a problem. And he says here that he takes fruits daily. Okay, that's good. So essentially, a healthy diet consists of a small amount of rice, right? Your fruits and vegetables, one serving of vegetables is about half a cup of cooked vegetables. That's one serving. So you need to take about 1.5 to 2 cups of vegetable throughout. You can spread it out through your meals. Fruits should be preferably at least twice a day. So it looks like he seems to be doing something right with his diet, and he's active. So why does he still have
Alex,
pre-diabetes?
why does he still have pre-diabetes and couldn't reverse even with lifestyle changes?
Yeah. So, okay, first of all, congratulations, Mr. Win Fu, for all that effort you've taken in looking after yourself. You're really like a textbook model patient. I'm not even a patient, a textbook model person of how somebody should be at the age of 66, jog for 30 years and eat really healthily.
Definitely much more than what I'm doing.
Yeah. But I suspect, because you didn't give us your family history, and I suspect you can replace your rice with tofu, but you cannot replace the surname Fu. Okay, right? I think that there is this element that no matter how much I want to be Indian like JR, I cannot. No matter how much I want to be, I really want to be, deep down inside, but I can't. So
In terms of diabetes, I'd rather be Chinese.
yeah, we get we are dealt different lots in life, but you have played the absolute best hand you can. So congratulations. Okay, it's not a death sentence, right? It does mean that you need to continue to strive, As your body grows older, because you're 66, you've actually done well. I would argue that if you hadn't put in all that jogging and all that tofu, you would have been having diabetes by 36. Yeah, so well done. Okay, and keep up the good work.
Yeah, Mr. Winfu, I think you should congratulate yourself. The fact that you remain someone with pre-diabetes and didn't progress is already an advancement. I mean, that's probably all because all the changes that you've done to your lifestyle. So as another question, if someone has already got pre-diabetes, which is reversed, that means HbA1c's maybe Alex going back to normal ranges again, can it come back again a couple of years later or months later, or how frequently should I be checking?
Yeah, I mean, it can definitely come back. It can definitely come back. It's as I said before, the word is remission. We don't say that it's gone. We don't say it's disappeared. We don't say it's cured. It can definitely come back. In terms of how often that you should be checking, what I would recommend is at the bare minimum every year, okay, as an annual checkup. If you have a suspicion you're gaining a lot of weight, let go of your makan and your exercise, then maybe after 6 months you have to check again. But definitely it will come back. Yeah, it can come back.
If I can share on those who actually successfully able to reverse their diabetes or pre-diabetes and they don't get it back, basically a lot of that registry or they track and see what do these people do. So the key thing that they do is they don't let their weight creep back up. So it's very important to continue to monitor regularly. Right? So one thing, it's not good to say, oh, I'm already down, my weight looks good, I don't have to worry about it.
Can't rest on your laurels.
Yes, that's right. So they actually weigh themselves at least once a week regularly. They continue to keep up a high activity level. So they continue that 150 minutes of exercise or even more. The other thing they do is they eat breakfast. That's very important. Malaysians tend to skip meals, thinking that by skipping meals, it's healthy. It's not. They actually eat regular meals and they eat a good breakfast, as in healthy breakfast, right? They don't skip meals. So some of these things that they continue to do as a habit, actually these are the ones who are successfully able to not gain weight and at the same time ward off the pre-diabetes as long as possible. So cannot, not to say cannot enjoy, they can enjoy, but they know when to cut back and when they can enjoy. So that's very important.
All right. I think that has been a very fruitful 1 hour. Let me summarize to say that I think we've gone through what this notion of or what this condition of pre-diabetes is. And we're talking about it on the day before World Diabetes Day. I think the key message here is that pre-diabetes is really giving us a chance to make a change. I think that's really the key here. And the change, of course, boils down to lifestyle changes, dietary changes, and in terms of physical activity that we need to increase and the weight that we need to shed off. There's also an online a website or app that you can use. It's letsmakeachange.my by Merck Malaysia. You can actually try that out, which actually, there's some very simple questions that you need to fill out, like your age, your height, and your weight, and your family history. And you can actually compute it. That program actually sort of computes what your risk is. It gives you 5 different risk levels, and that's being projected in the screen right now. So you can scan that QR code, or you can just Google or type in letsmakeachange.my, and that will lead you to the website, and just click on risk calculator and to actually find out whether what your risk is, how soon you actually need to go and check for pre-diabetes. So I would like to also take this opportunity to thank Pharmaceutical Association of Malaysia and Merck Malaysia for actually bringing us this public forum. I hope it has been very useful. And of course, I would like to thank my colleagues and speakers here, Dr. Alexander Tan from Sunway Medical Center, as well as Professor Winnie Chi from IMU. Thank you very much, everybody, and happy World Diabetes Day.
World Diabetes Day.